What is your favorite conspiracy theory? The 10-year challenge on Facebook in 2019, which encouraged FB users to upload pictures from 2009 and a current one from 2019, was actually a front by programmers to gain data and examples to train facial recognition and age progression software. That we've had cars able to run off of alternate fuel sources for decades, but at every turn progress was stopped by oil and gas companies. Chrysler had a turbine car in the early 60s that would run off of anything that burned. Chevy was experimenting with electric cars with the Electrova in the mid 60s, which had a range of 40-80 miles. GM had the EV1 in the 90s. We should be decades ahead of where we are now. Favorite is in the one I find the funniest, most interesting, is probably the Elvis still being alive once. The guy was pumped with so many drugs during his career and didn't take care of his body. He lived a rock and roll lifestyle and paid the price. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, is actually the son of Fidel Castro. First, Justin looks like a young Fidel, obviously, and nothing like Pierre Trudeau. And Pierre and Margaret Trudeau were rumored to be swingers. They were in Cuba in early 1971. Around February or March, and Justin was born Christmas of that year, about 9 months later. Here I go again. This needs to be brought back to everyone's attention. The entire Jeffrey Epstein thing. I actually believe this one to be true, unlike the 9/11, QAnon, and other completely bullshit stories. As far as I can remember, QAnon was a 4chan prank. But the Epstein thing is so hard to not believe. My dad worked as a cop and seen quite a few dead bodies. Those bruises are really weird. It would make sense if the makeshift rope would move up his throat as more weight was dragging him down. But the marking on the front of his throat are too thin for a noose made out of clothing. Hanging suicides have different bruises depending on what the instrument is, and this looks way too thin, almost like a wire. And he also had broken neck bones. There is no way he was going to be able to break his own ducking neck, and while it is possible to hang yourself while your feet are touching the ground, it would require a much bigger fall to break his neck. Plus, why the duck would the cameras not work in that exact moment? Why wasn't he under constant in-person supervision just in case, when they clearly knew that he could have possibly been a high-value target for some people? He got a good deal for the name list. And he just happens to heal himself right before he is supposed to give it in. Maxwell better have an armed guard on her at all times. Tissue boxes make dust come out when you pull a tissue so that you sneeze more and use more tissues. The Titanic has a few good ones. There were conflicting accounts of how it fell apart in the ocean. How it was actually a whole different ship that went to sea than what the White Star Line company was originally planning it to be. My favorite conspiracy theory about the Titanic is that when the command hard a starboard was given, the helmsman, who started his career in sailing ships, turned right instead of left. Starboard, after all, means right. By the time the error was realized and the ship began to turn left, it was too late. The only crew members who knew about the initial error and survived kept it a secret throughout the inquest. The story only came to light in 2010 when the granddaughter of one of the crew members came forward to confess to what he told the family about what really happened. If the ship had turned left instead right to begin with, it easily would have avoided the iceberg. Source: the depth of transportation bought too many orange barrels and now they have nowhere to store them, so they just place them for miles along the highway. This one is so ducking stupid that I love and hope to it's real. That the mark to fill up laundry detergent is purposefully higher than it should, so you buy more. That the Kardashian sisters keep their brother chubby so they can use his fat for their injections. Anything involving the Denver airport. Secret military bunker, meeting place for some secret cult, the meaning behind the murals, the gargoyle statue, blue cipher, etc. I live in Colorado, so I like this type of attention. That airport is unbelievably sketchy. Haven't been there in years, but the artwork was straight up concerning. Like WTF art curator was like, yeah, that one with a burning forest in the background and the group of people sacrificing a leopard to that deity. That really goes along with the vibe I'm going for. You know what? I really love this one too. The masked man with the high power rifle and a liberba sword standing over terrified children is great. Really think it adds another dimension. It tells a story. These will go great in an airport. Like just the decision to have that out there is astounding and a conversation I wish I could have been a part of. But that's really just a small fraction of what makes that place some goddamn fascinating. Last Thursdayism. The basic premise is that all of existence spawned into being last Thursday exactly as it is, including what you believe to be memories. Sounds like some goofy shit-stoned college kid would come up with while taking a break from reading Douglas Adams to hit a bong with his friends. Dead internet is a fun one. Supposedly 95% of the internet is just bots trying to sway public perception and keep money flowing. Supposedly it explains why everyone on the internet is so angry and dumb, but as a history nerd that's just giving humanity too much credit. I do think most dumb controversy like the new Little Mermaid thing is mostly drive, or at least kickstarted, by Disney bots for advertising and hype, but that's just me. Project MK Ultra is a personal favorite because 1. It actually happened, and 2. It has a weird connection to gaming with the whole Polybius thing. It's pretty wild. Finally, one that's a bit more niche is the dollar supremacy theory that America used 9/11 as justification to invade Iraq because they were using euros to buy and sell oil instead of USD. It just sounds so plausible that I can't help but believe it. I don't think it was an inside job, more like the government was looking for an excuse to get in there and swap some stuff while everyone was feeling patriotic. Charles Manson was introduced to LSD in federal prison in Chicago as part of MK Ultra. When he moved to San Francisco, he kept in touch with the same parole officer and checked in regularly at the free clinic at Haight and Ashbury, where he brought the girls to get treated for STDs and re-up his acid supply. That clinic was the perfect storm of several different individuals and programs. CIA as an organization involved with the free clinic as a way of keeping tabs on the counterculture movement. The actual CIA field agents who loved the benefits of hippie culture like free love and free girls. And the medical psychiatric true believers who really thought LSD was going to change the world. They thought Manson was a perfect example of a violent criminal who had been successfully converted to peace and love through modern medicine. Manson, for his part, was just a con man who realized he could fast talk these college squares and keep himself in the good graces of the law and free LSD. He could attract girls with a combination of bad boy charm, free drugas, prison talk pimping, and the co-opting of new age language and goodwill. When the drugas dried up, he started trading girls for drugas to the bikers, got more into amphetamines than LSD, and it all started going to shit. Great book about it, Chaos, by Tom O'Neill. United 93 was shot down before it could crash into another building. The hero story of the flight being taken down by passengers was made up by the American government to turn the passengers into heroes instead of people who were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. There is quite a bit of evidence of the passenger revolt in this case though, as a number of the passengers were able to get in touch with relatives on the ground via airphones and cell phones, and some of that footage was able to be recorded, along with the flight data recorder, the transcripts of which can be found online. We know from audio evidence that the passengers did indeed collectively decide to try to storm the cockpit. They had taken a vote, and we know some of their last words. Father of two, Todd Beamer, recited the Lord's Prayer and Psalm 23, and then uttered what were likely his final words. Are you ready? Okay. Let's roll. Now what is not certain from the flight data recorder is whether the passengers actually managed to storm the cockpit and crash the plane, or if the hijackers crashed it themselves upon realizing that the cockpit was seconds away from being breached. Either way, the plane was brought down during the passenger revolt, and a lot of lives were likely saved by the plane going down in that field in Pennsylvania rather than in the US Capitol. And honestly, even if the plane was taken down by the government, which, the plan actually had been for pilots Heather Penny and Mark Sassville to ram the plane, as there had not been time to outfit their planes with live ammunition, the passengers on United 93 would still have been heroes. They fought the terrorists, and even if they didn't win in the end, they went down fighting until their last breaths. They are heroes. There would have been no need to make up a story to make them heroes, because they already were. Todd Beamer, Mark Bingham, Tom Burnett, Jeremy Glick. Heroes, every one of them. Edit, a typo. That the uncanny valley, the fact we have a natural fear of what looks human but clearly isn't, exists because at some point in our evolution we had to be wary of something that tried to pass as human. Chemtrails from jets. So many wackadoo theories as to what they are spraying, but in aviation my entire adult life and the physics behind them are so simply shocking that people believe their craft are flying around covering us with chemicals. My dad has a friend that is a believer regardless of the irrefutable evidence otherwise. The reason we haven't been back to the moon is because the Apollo astronauts encountered aliens based there, and they warned us off. There's a radio blackout of a few minutes during the Apollo 11 moon landing where the conspiracy says Neil and Buzz were reporting alien ships stationed on the rim of the landing site crater in a menacing fashion. Another supporting example was an earlier flyby of the dark side, where an astronaut reported "Be advised, there is a Santa Claus," which was supposedly code for an alien base on the far side of the moon. The USA government created the crack cocaine epidemic to fund foreign soldiers in a proxy war while also waging a war within its own borders using the epidemic it created to remove what the government felt was undesirable citizens while swaying public opinion on increasing law enforcement funding. Finland doesn't exist. During the Cold War, Japan struck up a deal with the Soviet Union for exclusive fishing rights to an area of sea between the Soviet Union and Sweden, with the Soviets getting a tasty share of the profits. To stop other countries getting into this area, they put out false reports of a country there called Finland. Get it, Finland, because of the fish. Haha. Very clever, but surely there are people living in Finland, you say. Heck, you may have even visited Finland yourself. No. You see, in reality, the people who think they are Finnish and living in the fictitious Finland actually live in a series of remote villages spread across Russia, Sweden and Estonia, and are fooled into believing that they are in Finland. If you yourself have ever visited Finland, you were actually flown to one of these other locations and lied to by the airlines, who are all in on it of course. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard and I love it.